Hello aspirants, welcome to PW OnlyIAS. I'm here Harpreet Singh with the daily analysis of the Hindu from 16th of December 2024. So let's begin with the analysis. But before that, this is a QR code of the Telegram account where you can find this particular PDF along with other material that is required for your preparation. What all topics we have taken for today's analysis? First, one candidate, multiple constituencies. Then you have the Jalvahak scheme, fisheries subsidy issues. Along with it, we have taken Oliver Ridley turtle, Erg Chebbi dune, KABIL, C20 cryogenic engine, and desert night. So these all are going to be analyzed that have been taken from today's newspaper, The Hindu. Let's analyze. Okay, the main topics. Now see over here, if you have a look over here, this is the today's editorial also, where you can find that we have specific mention with respect to, let's talk about one candidate, multiple constituencies. Now, please understand, before we go into the analysis, though in India, before 1996, we had a system where a person who wanted to, let us say, fight an election, he could file a candidature from multiple constituencies. Let us say a person is fighting an election from constituency A, he can also fight from constituency B, constituency C, constituency D. That means multiple constituencies. Post the 1996, we realized that an amendment was made to the Representation of People Act where a candidate can fight maximum from 2 constituencies. Now that is also comes under the category of one candidate, multiple constituencies. Now we need to analyze over here that one candidate is fighting from multiple constituencies. How is it creating problems with respect to the elections? That is what is being basically discussed over here, and we are going to discuss that also and see what the aspects of this article are. Let's see. So over here, the topic is one candidate, one multiple constituencies, OCMC, right? Let's begin. Okay, background. Now please see, the aspect which you need to analyze is section 33.7 of the Representation of the People's Act 1951 says, it says that one candidate can contest from a maximum of 2 constituencies. Now this is post the 1996. Before 1996, one candidate could contest even more than 2 constituencies. Now even the problematic situation over here right now is even this. Why 2? Why even 2? This is what is the problem or discussion which we have taken in today's analysis from the editorial. See, if I want to see the challenges that are associated, which we see in the particular editorial also, you will see that by-elections have to take place. Now let us see. This is a constituency. Constituency C1, right? And this is C2, right? A person A is fighting election here along with person B, C, and D, right? Over here also person A is fighting along with, let us say, P, Q, R. All these are persons who are fighting the elections, right? Now, do you realize there is a commonality with respect to person A fighting from this constituency also and this constituency also? From both constituencies fighting. Now, supposingly, person A wins here also and person A wins here also. Now the problem that arises is you cannot be a representative of 2 constituencies. You cannot be a representative of 2 constituencies. So what will happen? This person will be asked to vacate one of his seats. So let us see. This seat is vacated. And he says that I will represent the constituency C. So what happens? Again, a by-election. Do you realize? Again, the election process will take place in this constituency. So it is a very problematic situation from the aspect of machinery, election machinery also, that they again have to arrange a by-election. This is again the major problematic situation. Whether it is multiple constituencies, in case of the multiple constituencies, when before 1996 it was allowed that a candidate could find even from more than 2 constituencies, then it used to further have a very ripple effect if the candidate won from all the 3 constituencies, or let us say 4 constituencies. Over here also, if you see, again the by-election has to take place. First problem. Second is burden on the taxpayers. If you look at the election budget, it goes into crores, multiple thousands of crores are spent on the election. If you take one single election also, you realize that a lot of money is spent on organizing those elections. And who has to bear the burden? It would be seen from the perspective that government is bearing the burden, but no. The reality is that we are the people who are paying the taxes. They have to bear the burden. So what happens? The burden of by-elections are on the taxpayers. The taxpayers have to pay for it. And this repeatedly happens. Just imagine every candidate, or let us say large number of candidates who let us say win and have, let us say, contestants from 2 constituencies. Again, the by-elections have to be organized at every place. Now, this can be from the perspective of the state legislature also and the parliament also. Right, in both the cases. So just imagine the level of money that is spent on these things again have to be borne by the taxpayers. That is the people. Taxpayers, they are the people of India. Now if you move ahead, now see the problem. Next is burden on the defeated candidates. Now see what happens. Let us assume over here, in this constituency C, PQR. Now supposingly A has vacated. Now let's come to this case. Let us say in a constituency A, P, Q, R. These are what? The candidates, right? Candidate A had won in some other constituency, also won in some other constituency. And here also. And he gives up, or let us say vacates this seat, right? This seat. Let us say this is constituency C1, right? Constituency C1. In this particular case, do you realize these candidates who fought the election, must have spent a lot of money, something that is easily known to people, because in election a lot of expenses are made. Something that is the election commission allows, and other is the other fund that they might be spending. In this case, again the elections are held. They again have to spend money as by-elections will take place. Now they again have to spend the money, because again the elections are coming and most probably they will be again contesting. So then the burden is falling on the defeated candidates again, because they will be contesting the elections. So that is again a problematic situation. Next is voters lose interest. Now see, if you see with respect to the voter turnout, we realize that the voter turnout again is influenced by the interest, or the people's interest in the election process already when the election has taken place. Then if you tell the people or make an announcement again of the by-elections, there's a great possibility that people might not even come out to vote. A very minuscule minority might be coming out and vote. What happens? We realize that the voter turnout has been very low in the cases of by-elections. In the cases of by-election also, this is a problem. So now these are the problems that we come across. Let us see one more problem. contradicts the section 70. Now this is quite interesting. Please understand, section 70 is the one which says that if you have one in one constituency and another constituency, you cannot represent both the constituencies. You will have to vacate a seat and choose whichever constituency you want to represent. That means a person cannot represent more than one constituency, because a person might have won two constituencies in both the places where he has been fighting election. He cannot represent both the constituencies. You'll have to give up one seat. This also happens in case of, again, the state legislature and member of parliament election also. So you cannot be a member of parliament also and a member of state legislature also. And similarly, you cannot be a member of parliament from two constituencies or member of legislature from two constituencies. You have to give up one. So now, when section 70 is there, the problem is that, on the other hand, section 33(7), or let us say section 33 over here, already is contradicting that, because it is saying that a person can contest from 2 seats maximum. So already that 2 seats means this is being in contradiction to section 70, because it is again saying that you cannot be a representative of 2 constituencies, but you can contest election from 2 constituencies. So that is not logically wrong, because section 33 you have seen over here. See, section 33(7) over here says that candidate must have contest a maximum 2 seats. So that means maximum 2 constituency where elections can be fought. These are the things. Clear? So these are the problems. Now let us say some advantage. Are there some advantages? Yes. If you see the legal people have also said, and many articles have been there are certain advantages behind that. So advantage being the right of the candidate to contest. It is the rights of the candidate that he wants to contest from, let us say, more than one seat. It is his right. Why should he be restricted? That is one case. Second is people have the choice. Now people should have a wider choice. That means, let us say, people want a particular candidate, because in our Indian democracy, it works on the faces of the leaders. And they want this candidate should represent us also. Other constituencies say this candidate should represent us also. So a person can fight from both the constituencies. Later on, he might choose anyone. That is a different case. But it is the choice of the people also. They're going to have a wider choice when more people are fighting the election. But again, we realize that the problems that this situation created, one candidate, multiple constituencies, is very problematic in nature. That is why, please realize, the recommendation of the Election Commission over here becomes important. The Election Commission recommended amending the section 33(7) so that it allows one candidate to contest only from one seat. It did so in 2004, 10, 16. Every time the Election Commission has recommended, again, the right to pass the law with respect to Representation of People Act lies with the government, or let us say the parliament. And the Election Commission has been recommending. And for that matter, please remember, even the Law Commission, has recommended the same, has opened the same. Now, that is what we are saying, that these are the reforms. When you talk about electoral reforms, one of the major aspects over here is that this leads to unnecessary burden on the people, unnecessary issues with respect to voter turnout being low, unnecessary problem with respect to the defeated candidates again contesting the election. So a lot of burden on the electoral machine. And along with it, please remember, when the elections have to take place, then that constituency or region, where there is going to be a holiday also. So that tends to stigmatize the economic growth and development during that particular day also. So that is why these things do impact the economy overall and the aspect of socio-cultural development in a way, because what happens is that this, again, repeated elections, for, let us say, a certain economic aspect, let us say some transactions have to take place on that day, economic, or some business deals have to be done by people. very often would be happening because repeated elections might lead to stigmatization of those aspects. So that is why we realize that the important thing is that when election is done, it should be done in that way, and repeated elections is something that should be avoided. And that is because of a similar case we have come up with the one nation one election concept also, which is advantageous in nature in some ways also. We will be analyzing that because it is going to be listed in the parliament in a few days, 1 or 2 days, and then we'll analyze that topic again. Okay, let's move ahead. Center launches Jalvahak scheme or cargo movement via inland waterways. Now see, Jalvahak scheme basically aims at that. It basically aims at that the aspect should be with respect to promotion of inland waterways. Now see, okay, now see here. This scheme has been launched to incentivize the cargo movement via the inland waterways, leading to a sustained and cost-effective transport via National Waterway 1, then National Waterway 2 via the Brahmaputra, and National Waterway 16 Barrack. That means through these three waterways, National Waterway 1 Ganga, National Waterway 2 Brahmaputra, National Waterway 16 through Barrack, these three have been emphasized as a means for promotion of what? The waterways. Let's move ahead. Scheme aims to reduce the logistics cost. Logistic in way one item or entity is transferred from one place to another. So how we can reduce the cost. Next is trade potential via inland waterways. This is inland waterways. So there's a lot of potential because you can transport one item or goods at a very fast pace via that, right? Next is decongesting the roads and the railways. So this is what the government is basically aiming at. A lot of stuff can be transported through the waterways. Under the scheme, cargo owners transporting goods over 300 kilometers via the waterways will receive 35%, up to 35% reimbursement on the operating cost. So whatever be your operating cost, if you're transporting over 300 kilometers via the waterways, 35% reimbursement will be given by the government with respect to your transportation and the operating cost that you do. Will remain valid for 3 years. So this is again a major aspect where in order to promote the inland waterways is there. So who's operating or implementing? The Inland Waterways Authority of India and the Inland and Coastal Shipping Limited. They are the basically ones who are implementing it. Government aims to achieve 200 million tons of cargo transport via the inland waterways by 2030 and 500 million tons by 2047. 2047 is a year when we are aiming to be achieving a state of the developed India, that is Vikasit Bharat. Next, India seeks strong subsidy rules for high sea fishing. Topic 3. Now this is very important. Let us understand why. See, I'll give you a brief summary before we analyze it. If you talk about World Trade Organization, it is an international body which basically aims to regulate trade across the world so that there is no monopoly, or let us say proper trading practices are carried out, right? Similarly, if you realize that when India used to give a lot of subsidy to the farmers, WTO basically always tried to question that you are giving direct subsidy to the farmers, and that is basically going against or distorting the trade practices in India. We also had the agreement on agriculture with respect to that in order to resolve those practices, that we are a developing nation and we need certain exceptions over there. Now, keeping that in mind, when we talk about fisheries, you will be realizing that in the fisheries sector also, the developed countries are misusing these concepts of subsidy against the developing countries. What they are doing? They are giving a lot of subsidy to their farmers, the developed nations, the European countries and all. They're giving a lot of subsidy to their farmers in the fishing sector so that they can get a good catch of the fishes and their trade practices can basically bloom. On the other hand, the developing countries who do not have that technology, they are not able to subsidize. But in this particular case, when the subsidy is being given by the developed country, which is distorting or going against the trade practices, which is harming the developing nations like India, why is the WTO not intervening in this? That is what is the problematic situation. So that means we are saying that WTO is partial in nature. Why is it against the developing countries? when the developed countries are giving subsidy with respect to the fishermen, and you will be seeing this also, then why is WTO not intervening in that case? And you're pressurizing all the time with respect to the government of India and, for that matter, the developing countries. So what is the question over here is WTO's partial stand, or let us say being biased with respect to subsidies. What? The developing versus the developed. Now see, first of all, before we go ahead, let us see certain bit of fisheries subsidies agreement. See, the countries have signed this agreement. So what happens is the fisheries subsidies agreement. This is basically prohibits subsidies from being provided for illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. That is IUU, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, and overfish stock. So that means WTO tends to regulate that you should not be doing illegal fishing, unreported fishing, and unregulated fishing. That means unregulated, that means no regulation is there. You cannot do that. Because you realize that there are regions where fishing has been done by various countries in the open seas also. So over there, when the countries with a lot of technology, because they're subsidized heavily by the countries, they have better technology, better equipments, and they tend to catch the major fish, and nothing remains for the developing countries whose fishermen do not have the technology to meet the developed countries' farmers, fishermen. Now see, the agreement proposal in the WTO's 12th Ministerial Conference, it prohibits providing subsidies for fishing in the high seas. Now it says that the proposal was that the subsidies for fishing in the high seas should be prohibited, which are outside the jurisdiction of the coastal countries and regional fisheries management organization arrangement. So now realize there is a proposal that the country should not be providing the subsidies to those in the high seas, and for that matter, regulation of the subsidy should be done. Along with it, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing is something that should be restricted or prohibited. Clear? Now what happens? Please see. India's call on the fishery subsidy. See, India proposed that per capita distribution of subsidy criteria to address the overcapacity issue on WTO. See, you need to see the per capita distribution. You should have a proper criteria with respect to when you are giving certain limits with respect to the subsidies. Why this is being said by India, please understand. The annual fishery subsidy in India is $35 per fisherman. European nations are giving $76,000 per fisherman subsidy. Now, when $76,000 subsidy is given annually to fishermen, you realize they will be having all the equipments, all the technologies in which they can better basically exploit the fishes or catch the fishes. And what happens after that is nothing remains for the fishermen who are from the developing nations. That is why we say India presented a paper designing discipline for overcapacity and overfishing pillar, a case for interest-based subsidy approach. That means you should be having, in this paper, India said there has to be a fairness in the subsidy distribution. That how come they are giving so much subsidy, and when we give certain subsidy, restrictions or questions are being imposed on us. So India emphasized that annual aggregate subsidy is not an annual measure. They include both beneficial and subsidies. Now please understand. So what they are saying is that you need to stop differentiation and the problems with respect to the subsidies that the world WTO is basically creating right now. So you need to change the criteria so that there is parity between the developed and the developing nations, where India is one of the developing nations that is there. Same thing was done with respect to the agriculture sector also, where the farmers were basically earlier questioned that why India is giving them so much subsidy, where it is leading to distortion of trade. On the other hand, the European countries and the United States had already been providing their farmers tremendous amount of subsidy. So that is what we say biased or the partial nature of WTO between the developed and the developing nations is what is the major point of concern. Moving ahead. Now see, mains question of the day, please see, what is the question? You can attempt this question. One candidate, multiple constituency concept is a violation of the constitutional spirit. Critically examine. You can use this question as a practice question for you. I'll be giving you a question every day. So this is the mains question of the day. You can write it and analyze it. We can discuss it also. So this is an important question. You can analyze it. Okay. Let's move ahead. Prelims topics. Carcasses of Oliver Ridley turtle continues to wash ashore the Vizag. Topic 4, Oliver Ridley turtle. So this is the cute face of the Oliver Ridley turtle along with the eggs. So what it is? The Oliver Ridley turtle is important because this can be asked in your prelims topics and has been asked previously also. Scientific name, Lepidopsis olivacea, also known as a Pacific Ridley turtle. It is found in the warm waters of Pacific, Atlantic and the Indian Ocean. Features, it is one of the smallest sea turtles on the earth. Olive green color of their shell, and that is why they get their name. They can grow up to 2.5 feet in length and weigh up to 30 to 40 kilograms. Food, mainly shrimp, crab, mollusk, fish and crab. Known for the unique mass nesting, that is arribada. This is important, this can be asked. Over here, which means that arrival by the sea in Spanish, where thousands of female basically come together to the same beach and lay their eggs over there. That is why you'll be seeing in various cases when the females are coming to the coastal region, at that time the coastal region is restricted or kept beyond the reach of the tourist also, because at that time the egg laying season is going on. So they hatch within 40 to 60 days and then they again small turtles go into the sea. Next, protection status of the Oliver Ridley turtle. IUCN, it's vulnerable. Wildlife Protection Act, Schedule 1 and CITES is Appendix 1. Oliver Ridley turtle nesting sites. Arribada beaches occur in Orissa, Gahirmatha, Devi River mouth and Rushkula. That is very often been asked in your preliminary examination also, so it is important. Even in Andaman Nicobar Islands, there are various nests, more than 5,000. So these are the regions, Odisha and along with it, Andaman Nicobar Islands. Threats, bycatching in the fishing gear, climate change, direct harvest of the turtle's eggs, loss and degradation in their habitat, ocean pollution, marine debris, predation of eggs, hatchability. Small dogs might come and eat their eggs. So these things basically endanger these turtle. Otherwise, you realize these are very important with respect to the nature and the climate. In nature, climate, obviously along with it, the human interaction, or what we know as ecology. So that is why very important ingredient of the ecological balance, and they have been threatened because of various reasons. These are some of them. This can be asked in your preliminary examination also. Next, topic 5, Erg Chebbi dune. Now, this was in your newspaper. What is Erg Chebbi dune? Please understand. Erg Chebbi, it is one of the Morocco's sea, several ergs. What is erg? A large sea of sand dunes. That means a large area where sand dunes are there. So that is known as an erg. So this is in Chebbi, that is where, which we see is Morocco. Now it is located on far western edge of the Sahara Desert. So it is basically a large sand dune that is being present over there. Now it may rise up to 150-meter height, 28 kilometers north-south, that means, and 5 to 7 kilometers in east and west. It has been in the news, so we should be knowing it because this can be asked as one pointer in your preliminary examination. Next, topic 6, ISRO conducts successful sea level hot test of CE-20 cryogenic engine. So what it is, please see. C-20 cryogenic engine. See, cryogenic engine again indigenously developed by India also. C-20 cryogenic engine is a rocket engine that uses liquefied gases both as a fuel and as an oxidizer. So liquid fuel is being used as a fuel also and as an oxidizer. Now these gases are kept at extremely low temperature to keep them in a liquid state. So that is why very low temperature. Now what happens? Developed by the Liquid Propulsion System Center, C-20 engine powers the upper stage of the launch vehicle. Now see, what is the fuel? Liquid oxygen is used and liquid hydrogen is used. So liquid oxygen acts as an oxidizer. It liquefies at minus 183 degrees Celsius. And liquid hydrogen basically serves as a fuel and liquefies at minus 253 degrees Celsius. That is why it is kept in a liquid state and then becomes easier for the chemical reaction to take place. The reaction between them, that means LOX, that means liquid oxygen, and liquid hydrogen generates the thrust or the energy for the propulsion to take place. So this is something important you should know. Features engine restart capability. equipped with a multi-element igniter, enabling the engine to restart in the mid-session. If something happens, you can switch it off and again restart while the course or the action of the rocket launch is taking place or it is moving at that time also. Crucial for the mission like the Gaganyaan. So it becomes very important for these missions because it provides a lot of thrust also and a lot of capability with respect to payload also. Right, see here. This test validated ISRO's ability to perform vacuum ignition without nozzle closure, advancing its cryogenic propulsion. Now, what is a nozzle protection system? It prevents the flow separation in the nozzle and reduces the vibration, enhancing performance and simplifies the testing procedure. High efficiency, has a better efficiency in comparison to the others. Applications, this can be very useful because it has a higher payload capacity, carry a larger weight. That means when we are launching the Gaganyaan mission, so higher payload can be there and we can carry it a great amount of load to the space. That is why this becomes very, very important. Next, Desert Night, topic 7. Desert Night is India, France and UAE have launched a Desert Night, a trilateral air combat exercise over the Arabian Sea. This can again be asked in your papers. Highlights of the trilateral defense exercise. Objective: enhance the trilateral defense cooperation between India, France and UAE. Foster better interoperability so that you are better prepared for tactics operations. Along with it, build synergy to improve the combat skills. Significance: it strengthens a partnership in the Indo-Pacific and the Persian Gulf region. Again, there are certain other exercises which you should be knowing. This can be asked in your prelims as various points. Shakti, it is Indian Army focused exercise between India and France. Varun, naval exercise. Garud, Air Force exercise. Along with it, India and UAE, various exercises are there. Exercise Desert Flag, annual multinational large force employment warfare exercise hosted by the UAE Air Force. Indian Air Force frequently participates in these types of exercises, right? Next, topic 8, KABIL, Khanij Videsh India Limited. This was present as an important term in today's newspaper, so you should be knowing what it is. It can be asked in your paper. This is a logo, KABIL. KABIL is a joint venture company formed by the National Aluminium Company Limited, NALCO, and Hindustan Copper Limited, HCL, and Mineral Exploration Company, MECL, in August 2019. This is important. This can be asked because sometimes these words come in your paper and you do not know what they are. Mandate: target of the company is to identify, acquire, develop, and process, make commercial use of strategic minerals in overseas locations for supply in India. So that means you identify, acquire, develop processes in the overseas countries and those minerals which are critical for India, then India can basically get access to those minerals. It is focusing on identifying and sourcing battery minerals like lithium and cobalt. That becomes important. The equity participation between NALCO, HCL and MECL is 4:3:3. This is the equity. Clear? Function: it helps in building partnership with the mineral-rich countries like in Australia, those in Africa, even in South Africa. So better relations between them because economically you're cooperating with these countries. Then KABIL would carry out identification, acquisition and exploration and development of minerals which are strategically important for India. Again, we have studied that. Ministry, nodal ministry is Ministry of Mines. Again, important. Next comes the aspect of over here. We will be seeing the multiple choice question. Question number 1, have a look at it. Question number 1, you can pause the video after that and attempt it. Question 1, options. Then you have the answer. Question 2 with options. Pause the video and attempt it. Answer. Question 3, pause the video, attempt it. Then you have the answer. Question 4, you have the options. Then you have the answer. Question 5, pause the video. These are the options, the answers. So these are the topics from today's news analysis. Hope you liked it, enjoyed it. Please make sure that whenever we are doing the MCQs also, these are other topics which are to be covered by you, which we might not have covered directly in the news, but we are covering through the MCQs also. So what happens is that please take the MCQs also as a source of the knowledge when you're reading the explanation. So both of them combinedly form the best current affairs for your daily analysis. So take care and hopefully enjoyed it. We'll be meeting tomorrow again and continuing that lecture. Take care and Jai Hind.